Hi Professor Gupta, hope you're doing well. This is my final video submission for the course advising application software. So I'm just going to be going over what I did. So firstly, I created the UI for the application. So that has the whole wireframe, the whole prototype, so you can click through and everything. And on top of that, I designed a logo for the application. So next I'm just going to go over the Python scripts that I made really quickly. So the first one is the course catalog conversion. So the task of all three of the Python scripts I made was essentially to make the data that we were given into usable format for our application. So that was a JSON file in our case. So we were given the data in Excel sheet, so I had to essentially disregard the information we didn't need and then format it into the JSON file type that we needed. So just a quick walkthrough of this. This is me importing the document, and then this is document as it comes in, and then I'm looping through and disregarding stuff that I don't need, and then setting my own titles, and then lastly dumping to a JSON file, and then that's what we're using. This is what we use for the students when they search up the classes and you see the prerequisites they need, so stuff like that. Next we have the course schedule.json. This one I did have a harder time with. This was given to us again in an Excel sheet, and it had the course name, the title, the amount of credits, the meeting information, so that included the start and end date, the type of class it was, so if it was lecture, if it was online, the days and times it met, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then the times, the faculty name, and then notes, such as for the legal environment business, the note is that it's a hybrid format. So the biggest difficulty in this one was how it was formatted in the Excel sheet. As you can see, the meeting column was very large, and it had several different pieces of information which should have been different rows altogether. So the start date, the end date, the time, the format, and the days that the class was offered. So I did have a little trouble with that, but I split that column along the stuff I was looking for. So we have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I set my own new row. So we have the start date, the end date, the day start time and end time, and then I'm setting my own rows down here, and then dumping that out again as I did with the other Python file to a JSON, so then we could use that. And then lastly we have the courses, and this is just, again, this is taking an Excel sheet of all the majors that were offered at the sales and then turning it into a JSON file so we could use that for our application. So next I'm going to go over the stuff that I actually did on the application, and then I'm going to talk a bit about the code. So firstly, I created the navigation bar that you see here, and we all had a part to do in the home screen, but I helped kind of organize how it looks with the grids. So the main component I ended up doing was a profile page. So you can reach the profile page by clicking here, edit profile, or here in this little icon and getting there the same way. So this would be once a student has already signed in to the application, obviously, so they've gone through onboarding and everything like that, and they want to change something. So let's say, firstly, let's change our name, and then let's change our class, and then hit save. So now what this is doing right now is writing this information onto the JSON file, the basic information JSON file, and I split these up into 3 different cards, so they're 3 different components. So when you click edit on this one, you're only editing this one, and the other ones aren't affected essentially. So right now, when they're not when you haven't clicked edit, these are all disabled, so you can't click or do anything. So let's click edit. So now let's change our let's change a couple of things. Okay, and then let's hit save. And then the same thing happens in this one. This is also written to the basic user information JSON file. And then lastly, we have classes. So let's add a couple here. and then hit save. And then say if you want to go and you're like, oh, I forgot this is the wrong class, so you can just hit cross, you can like exit out, and then you can add your other ones and then press save. Okay, so then that saves to the basic information JSON as well. So that would be right here in the data file, and that's what this is saved. So as you can see, the changes are reflected. So the name, the major change, and here are all the selected courses that I said that I did. So that's where that's saved. And then another thing I worked on was the view page, and that was essentially just like a view of the schedule and like it a lot bigger. So that's just what the student has currently. And I also worked on the start new schedule, which is just an empty schedule here, which is just this. I just added this empty schedule, and then David completed this entire schedule, suggested classes and all of this here. So my contribution was really just the like the layout of this essentially. So then let's go into export. So export is exporting the students' like current class schedule that they have. So this is a preview of what would be exported, and you click here to download the PDF, and then this is the default name I gave it, so my schedule, and it should default download to your downloads folder. So let's hit save. So now let's go over to the downloads folder, and as we can see, that's right there, and it opens up nicely. Everything's included in the PDF. So that's essentially what I had to do in terms of the application. So let's quick go over the code that I actually added. So the files that I was working with are the basic information, blank timetable, button export, classes taken, the doc service, major info, the nav bar, the PDF container, the table, the export page, the home page, the profile page, the view page, and I also helped with the app page, app.js. So firstly, let's go into basic information. So that was the first initial card that you saw on the profile. So right here, that's that card. And essentially what this does, like the hard part, was how we were reading it right into JSON files. So I was able to figure that out. So because of the way React works and because of it being made by Facebook, it doesn't actually allow for anyone to access the files because it doesn't really need to. So the workaround that I found was requiring the app to open within Electron, because Electron can access these files. So that's what this is right here. And that's why you can actually no longer open this app in like the local host, which you were able to do before. So this app now requires Electron for all the file writing and stuff to happen. That is also the reason why when we're editing something, right, like this, that the whole page actually reloads, because it's rewriting, it's reopening that JSON file instead of just rendering the one box. So that was a consequence of that, but it works, so it's okay. So this was just a console log to check for the user data was being done correctly. And then we have the styles that I was using for the card. And then this is the constructor and the props that I use. So I have like temporary variables, and then edit mode, which is what allows, so disable false, which allows like the text box to now be typed in. And then we have the save, which writes the temporary values to the file that we're saving before. And then we just have the grid, which has the information, the text field. The text field has the like the states and stuff associated with it. So we have like on change, just setting the state to the new value. So that's the same with both the text fields. And then we have the save button, which has the on click is doing the handle.save, and then just exporting those with the styles that I was using. So next, the blank timetable. This is a little less interesting. This I worked on with David. He was working on like mainly the functionality of it, and I just ended up doing like the UI part. So essentially it's just currently like a blank table with the correct headers on. So here we go. Then we have button export. So this is what's basically taking that timetable, that HTML timetable, and then creating that into like a PDF available for download. So this up here was just my constructor for testing purposes, and then we have this this is like showing what is on the export page. So I have the customized table there as well, and that's essentially just what's showing there. So where it really happens is the doc services, and this is a this is the dependency made by Kendo React PDF, and that downloads the PDF, essentially like allows it to be downloaded. And then so going back quickly, this is the class taken info. So this is this sort of thing right here. So again, we have the electron required, the paths, the styles, and then the saves. This one is a little bit different because obviously it's not just a text box, it has all these values instead, and you can like search in it, so that's a little bit different there. And then we have major info, and that's kind of the same as this one. Again, you're able to search values in this, so like that, for example. So again, just requiring electron, the path needed. So this is where it's reading from, and then that's where it's writing to. And then we have the constructor again. We have the edit mode and the save mode, allowing the boxes to be edited and then saving to the JSON file. And then right here, this is how I'm searching through the majors alphabetically. So that's how the search box works. And then it's just using those components and adding the on change to the text field, essentially. So then let's move on to navbar. So the navbar mainly just has styling and then the routing added to it. So this has the link here, as you can see. This is from the React DOM router. So that's this goes to the home page, and then this goes to the profile page. That's what that is. The PDF container is what's used in export, and that is what is creating the PDF. That's where the button is, and that is actually triggering the PDF to be downloaded. So then let's go on to table. Again, this is just a table, the main one that we were using, and that just imports the current student schedule to show that. I basically just worked on the UI, and David worked on actually having that work. So yeah. And then the timetable again, which is just holds like the styling and layout essentially. And then really quickly, the pages. So I worked on the export page, and this shows like, this is essentially just all the components I had that's been put into the page and then rendered. Then we have the home page. All of us in the team worked on that. We all had our different components being added into there. And then we have new schedule, which and then we have the profile page, which is so those components I talked about before, that's them being called and then sorted out into the grid and then having the correct sizing and everything. That's essentially what that is. And then view, which is the current table that the student's working on, just a lot larger so they can see that. And then lastly, app.js. So for app.js, what I did was I add the routing for this. So I was using the browser router, and up here is what Michael did. So what I did down here initially was obviously add the navigation bar, so that's on every page, and then add the route path for all of these. So this would be like if this was running online, this would be what you would type after the URL, but obviously it isn't, so it's just a router for us. So that's it. I think got it in 15 minutes. So thank you for listening. Hope you have a great rest of your year.